really important factors in the coming to life that we have seen at St. John's is the incredible permission giving that we have received from our bishop. And as soon as we think that we've got it all together and everybody else just needs to get it, it's game over.
There was a time where I was refusing to go to church. It was boring. I didn't see any reason to be going.
Families leveled off. They started not coming. And so the level of kids in Sunday school dropped.
My husband wanted more. He just kept saying, I'm not getting anything out of the service.
3 of our young families came to me in one form or another and indicated to me that their days at St. John's were probably numbered.
My parents would take me to a different church so I could get a service where I felt more involved and where I was paying attention. And we were, for a time, thinking of moving to a different church if nothing was going to be happening here.
It felt to us that we were in a downward spiral. Attendance was falling, finances were worsening, and I think for me, worst of all, we saw our energy level just petering out.
The congregation was dwindling, and we said, what are we going to do? Are we going to just let it slide, just do the course and let the church die?
I look out my balcony window and I can see Southridge Community Church, who attract 1,500 people to their Sunday morning services. And I'm thinking, we are in decline. What possibly can we do to achieve a portion of what they have achieved?
The rector's warden and his wife invited David and me for dinner. We understood it was a social evening just with the 2 of them. And as it turns out, when we got there, they had invited some other friends of theirs. Friends who were active in a large, vibrant, alive church in St. Catherine's.
Conversation opened up very quickly about church. All right, how did the church that I was attending make the transition from a traditional church in the Mennonite world to a contemporary church?
Peter had been the moderator who had overseen the transition of this Mennonite church from a congregation of 150 or so members through a congregation of 1,500 members. A church that was just alive, that was packed out with young people, that needed traffic directors in its parking lot to manage the people who were coming to see if there might be an experience of God in this place.
You come to church for a reason, and that is to know what is the church for. If you go to a grocery store, you know why you're going there. And so when you go to church, you need to know why you're going there, and the church needs to explain that. I'd
had this experience of what church could be with a wonderful music and an alive congregation and profound preaching that was... The sermon that morning literally changed my life. I could still tell you what it was about today. And so I'd gone and had this incredible experience of what worship could be like. And I was hearing from my daughter that worship in the church that I served had become something between boring and a chore.
Once the people understand what the church is for and why it's there, then they started to tell their friends. People would ask them, why do you go to church? And they would actually give them a real answer. And so then other people would come to church. Their children would come to church. And as a result, the church grew.
I spent the rest of my vacation that year praying about whether or not I was the leader to begin transitioning St. John's, praying about whether or not I thought I had it in me, whether or not I could look to the Spirit of God and our congregation to begin to change. And so I kept visiting until I had 24 people signed up. To my huge delight, not a single person I asked to be part of this told me no. That was partly because they knew that we couldn't continue the way we were. Nobody had to tell them that the church was empty. We had been so determined to honor our Anglican roots. But what we realized is that we could remain true to our roots in terms of our way of being Anglican, and yet at the same time needed to change particularly our worship style so that we would be attractive to those outside the church.
When Kathy came to us and asked me what we needed, and I just kept saying, I said, we want more of how the Bible touches your life, how it affects us every day right now in 2008 at the time.
In the Anglican Church, sermons are 10 minutes long, maximum 12. What I realized was that we were whetting people's appetites rather than offering them some real meat. And so, although I preach 20, maybe sometimes 25 minutes, I haven't had any complaints about that. Quite the contrary. I seem to get more positive feedback about how much the sermon helps people in terms of their everyday, through the week life. The way that Jesus communicated about who God is and what God looks for from us was so true, it was so compelling, it was so life transforming that people were naturally drawn to him. And we knew that that was how we wanted to start packaging the gospel, so that people were just compelled and drawn to it because it was life-changing. Somewhere I learned that 5% of the Canadian population still listens to classical music, right? Guaranteed the people who listen to pipe organ classical music is even smaller, and you know what? They're already all going to church. We knew that we had to be presenting music that people wanted to hear, that was not painful for them.
We're now singing upbeat songs, and I'm not yawning every other bar. The sermons I actually pay attention to now.
Now I found I'm accepted at church. It's like a big family to me. Nothing's boring. I couldn't think of a happier place to be.
How were you about my announcement today that I'm not wearing robes? And her response to me was, Kathy, my son and his wife are here, and I couldn't care less whether you robe or not. She would love to see a priest still in a Roman toga and a stole, but what she cares about more is that her son and his wife are in church. As we began to realize that Sundays were indeed coming alive, what we also realized is that that wasn't going to be enough. That we also really needed to begin connecting with the community. That what we were doing here within the four walls of the church was important, but we needed to be taking the new life that we were experiencing in Jesus here and offer that out to the world. We just decided to begin what we call our community lunch cafe. So it is offered every single Sunday, 52 Sundays of the year. Over the past year, we have watched those lunches begin to flourish. And so not only do we have more people coming in from the community to have those lunches, we have moved, it's no longer just primarily single men. We have single women and families coming in for the lunches. We have also watched them physically move from the periphery of the hall to literally coming up through the room, so that they are beginning to participate in the church community that is also gathering for lunch. We have also recently seen some of those people begin to appear at worship, and so that is quite a joy to realize that now those people, because we have fed them physically, are beginning to look to this community as a place where they might also find spiritual food as well.
We started an Easter food drive, which we've done for 2 years now. At a time of year when the food is really low at community care, we thought we'd go around the neighborhood, drop off flyers, and collect food, and it has been very successful. I think when people do things for others, it really fills them with a sense of accomplishing something and brings them closer to God, closer to what Jesus would like us to be.
We do youth dances on alternate Friday evenings. Where we are seeing a real ministry beginning to blossom is with the teens who come out to help. So the last dance, we had 111 grade 4 to 8 kids here to eat potato chips and drink their pop. We had 20 teenagers turn up to assist with this. Young people who are looking to be here because it's happening at the church. But these teenagers are coming because they do want to connect with our youth pastor, they want to connect with one another, and they are looking for some spiritual food. So that will be an important ministry a year or two down the road.
As a church, we want to explore what we can do for Brock students or Niagara College students in offering them a place to go to explore their faith. We've started this week actually to offer Rise to a student who has come for 2 weeks.
Where we'll end up and what we'll be doing, that's so new. We're still dreaming about what the possibilities are there.
It is exciting to grow God's church.